That's where we find Garrett Haake. And Garrett, you've been following both of these candidates around for weeks. What are you hearing from your sources on both campaigns?
Well, Hallie, look, we are expecting big turnout. Both campaigns have been surprised by the early voting numbers, which have been off the charts in Texas. We expect to see big turnout in the major cities in Texas today, including here in El Paso, where Beto O'Rourke has been visiting polling places around the city this morning, trying to make sure he turns out his supporters. We've had a steady stream of folks at this location, including Pamela Aguirre, who's 77 years old, who I noticed because you had two key accessories. You had wheeled your oxygen tank out to vote, and you're wearing your Beto T-shirt.
Yeah, you want to see it?
I do.
Okay.
You were here when Beto came to cast his vote, and you told me this was very emotional for you. Why?
Well, because I wasn't expecting it, and because we think he's pretty important, and we're honored that he was here.
Why is he so important?
Because he represents everything that Donald Trump isn't.
He represents everything that Donald Trump isn't. Tell me what it means to you to see Beto, who's sort of a favorite son around here. I mean, we're in his neighborhood a few blocks away,
Sure.
out here representing El Paso, representing you, hoping to represent the whole state. What has it meant for you to see what he's been saying and what he's been doing on the national stage?
Well, I give him a lot of credit for standing up and saying what he thinks and for being willing to represent so many people who are like-minded. It means a lot. We're just so proud.
We're so proud. What will it feel like if you see him win this race tonight?
Everything. Just everything. We want him to win. And we'll be watching the TV tonight with him. He'll be someplace in the city. But it'll mean just so much. It'll mean that, by gosh, we all still have a chance to have a decent country and with decent values, with decent relationships with other people.
Thank you so much, Pamela. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Hallie, it just goes to show you the incredible emotions this candidacy, this campaign has brought out in the state of Texas.
Emotional indeed. Garrett Haake.
I've got to ask you about 2020 because you've taken leadership on this issue and people are demanding leadership on a lot of issues. More than 20 of your Democratic colleagues, many sitting right there in your caucus, are thinking about running. When are you going to decide what to do? There are reports that you're considering an even much more vigorous campaign than you did in 2016.
Andrea, today we are trying to end the worst humanitarian disaster on earth, and I'm going to focus on that. I like, as you know, to focus on the real issues impacting working families, crisis in healthcare, the high cost of prescription drugs. I will make that decision, when I think it's appropriate. If, and that is an if, I do decide to run, we're going to be taking on, the pharmaceutical industry and the insurance industry and Wall Street and all of the powerful special interests who now control much of what goes on in Congress. So it's not an easy decision. We got to determine what kind of grassroots support exists, and that's what we're looking at right now.
Well, according to Jonathan Martin of the New York Times, you went over to see Elizabeth Warren last night. Presumably 2020 came up. You share a lot of common beliefs.
Do you really think that the American people are eagerly interested? I talk to Elizabeth Warren every single day. No, I don't. I think maybe the American people want to know how we're going to provide health care to all of our people. Let's discuss it. How we're going to take on the greed of the pharmaceutical industry. How we're going to end this terrible war in Yemen. The fact that two senators get together to chat becomes a big deal. That's a real problem, I think, from the media that we should be thinking about.
But those of us, all of us who cover politics, believe that Democrats now confronting a big class of people who want to run, young, old, experienced, inexperienced, less experienced. You've got young people like Beto O'Rourke. You've got Julian Castro already saying he has an exploratory committee. Their prime goal is, how do we organize so that your issues, the things you care about passionately, I was on the road with you, and you are more vigorous than anyone I've ever covered in campaigning. How are you going to get those issues in front of the American people if you've got a two-tier debate structure with 20 or 30 people dividing the Democratic Party and not finding the 1 or 2 or 5 people who are best capable of challenging Donald
Well, you know
Trump.
how we're going to do it, Andrew? We're going to ask people like yourself and NBC and CBS and ABC to talk about the burning issues facing the American people so that the American people can then determine which candidate, Republican, Democrat, whatever, is addressing those issues. But you have heard me say a million times, Andrea, and let me mention it again right now. We need serious discussion in this country on serious issues. We've got to do it in Congress, and we've got to do it in the media. And our job is to give our views on those issues, let the American people decide who they think can do a good job in protecting their families and addressing those problems.
Well, fair point, and you're doing it today. You did it yesterday and days before on the Senate floor on this issue. We welcome that debate anytime, and please come back.
Okay, thank you very much.
Early and often. Senator Bernie
thank
Sanders,
you.
thank you.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.
Thank you all for coming out here today. Very nice to be with you. This is our last general town hall. Over the last 6 years, we have held 102 town halls. This is our 103rd. An absolute honor to represent you the last 6 years. Sworn in to serve you in January of 2013. And just want to thank you for giving me the honor of representing your interests in Washington, D.C.
Interestingly, though, it's now 5+ weeks since the election. I'm no closer to deciding. I thought I'd have a level of clarity or an epiphany at this point. Spending some time with family, I'll know what I can best do for first and foremost my family, and then the country.
So no hard date on when you might have an announcement or anything like that?
No hard date. Yeah.
Now, there you go. Who's that? Who's that? JPK? Joe Kennedy. You betcha. Yeah. Now, okay. If you don't want that job, there.
I gotta get a picture.
Try. No, these are yours.
I need to get a picture of you holding it, and I'm gonna send it to Joe.
Look at that.
Okay, hold on.
All right. It was Joe Kennedy.
Not Joe Biden. Joe Kennedy.
No, Joe Kennedy, because I'm from Boston originally, and I'm a Kennedy fan, so.
Oh yes! That is awesome.
Everything about him I like, To me, he's a straight talking dude.
You're very welcome. Have a good one.
You too. I have virtual included. You want me to take you to your question? Oh, wait, we're on the other side. No, I am? Yeah. Where did you park?